Hello and welcome to Hobby Vlog number 72. This week I'm pretty much back on form. I wanted to open this week's video with a heartfelt thanks to everyone that commented on the video last week and sent me private messages as well. Hugely appreciated. It's always going to be tough missing your father. It's never going to be a happy time, but it really helps to have such supportive people in my community. So thank you so much. It doesn't get any easier, but this week has been a better week. And onwards and upwards, as they say. I've had a busy one. It's been much more my usual self. Progress on various projects, including a couple that aren't in here, like the Super Secret collaboration and also the Battle Games in Middle-earth build, which I'm having a lot of fun with. You can see that on the first Tuesday of the month, so look out for that. The only other thing to say before we get into the meat of the video is next week I am lucky enough to be being involved in PatmaCon, the Paint All the Miniatures online convention. So if you want to find out more about it, I won't say too much now. There is a whole website to check out and there will be a link in the description below to go and have a look at that. Please come and join us. It's an absolutely wicked weekend. There are some superb people involved and me as well. I'll be doing some live streams, I think. So yeah, come over and join us. Check out the website for details. I'll stop rambling now. Please do enjoy the video. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope you enjoy it and I'll see you again at the end. Okay, so the modelling compound is dried and what I have here are 3 3D printed missiles, one of which will end up on this build and 2 of which will go in my bits box. But I'll cover those in another video. I just wanted to quickly show you those. So I think the thing to do now, actually, now that I've done this, is to actually separate this from its from its surrounds, because I don't think it's going to warp now that we've got the Luke's modelling compound on, and it will make it a little easier to work with, particularly if I can manage to cut through this nicely, because I'll be able to then mark the sides with paint and just generally have it a little bit tidier. So I'm going to cut this out now and then I'm going to do the next step. And the next step is going to involve the grout mix, which I use a lot now, and I'm going to do the same technique as I did with the modelling compound. So as it happens, I'm base coating Rosie's Model Railway. I'm putting down the first coat with the kind of sandy coloured grout, and that's going to work perfectly for the sand on this diorama. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and mix that up once I've got this separated, and then I will come along, I'll show you how I apply it just to the beach area, and then we will and then I'll let that dry, and then we'll have a look at the sea. We're not far off actually on this, and it'd be nice to get this done early rather than late. I did actually have another idea for a diorama entry, which I'm not going to do. I'm going to do this one. That other idea may come out in another build, but I did have another idea today. So there we are. It might need a little bit of weighting down as well. I might need to put that onto a base to make it a bit less wibbly wobbly. But now that that's been separated, what I'm going to do is I'll come along in a minute and I'll just paint some sand grout on that and then leave it to dry. So there we are. That's separated from its base. I'm a little bit concerned about this joint here, but it's not very strong. So what I decided to do is I've got some gaffer tape. I love gaffer tape. I was a sound engineer in a previous life. And I'm actually going to come along and wrap it around the back, the bottom and underneath, just to give it a little more strength and hopefully prevent my clumsiness from damaging the thing, which, my clumsiness being what it is highly likely. So I'm going to get that done, and then we're going to have a look at the water. As I film this, I see this interesting effect which I hadn't thought of. So what I'm going to actually have to do is probably line the back of this with the gaffer tape just to prevent the light coming through, because that's a bit off-putting. But I'm not going to worry about that for now. I'll do that after this is dried. The next thing I'm going to do is very simply come along with some blue paint, and it's not going to be a very complicated paint job, this. First of all, we're just going to put the blue paint over all of where the sea is, like this. Because water might not be blue, but the sea is when it's calm. When it looks peaceful enough, the sea is blue. So there we are.
And when that dries, what I will do is I will look to the horizon and work out how I'm going to do that, which might involve the same paint, but I'm going to think about it for a few minutes before I start painting that. And then what we'll be able to do is put a nice dry brush, highlight the tops of the waves, and that will look quite nice, I think. So there we are. Doesn't that look peaceful? I'm not too worried about the white towards the front of the towards the waterline, because that's where the surf would be. So yeah, I'll have a think about the backdrop, and what I'll probably do is run some gaffer tape up the back of the upright bit, just to block out that light coming through. So let's get started on this new build. The concept here is the monochrome idea, and what I'm going to be doing is making a muddy, rutted, battle-torn field with a single poppy in the middle. And so to do this, I'm going to make use of some Luke's modelling compound on this base here, which I have previously done the wire brush trick to make it actually have some teeth so it can adhere, and it's clamped down just so that it doesn't warp. And I will probably, as soon as I've finished doing the modelling compound, I will be able to remove this from the board, because the modelling compound won't warp with the things I'm going to do, and I do want to have this as a smooth transition up. So I'm just going to come along here, as you can see, and build up a base, and probably not do it quite as thick as I have actually. So smooth that out and make a roughly square shape, which I can then, when it's dry, I better paint and put my terrain on and put my scenic material on. I will also be making use of my tea leaves, so this will also form not just the TCU challenge, but is also going to be for my own little friendly thing that I'm challenging everyone who's interested. So if you want to be involved, save your coffee granules or your tea leaves from your morning brew and utilise it in some art. It doesn't have to be terrain. If you're a sculptor or if you're a painter, put it on a painting. Use it to add some texture to your painting or something. Be creative. There's no wrong way about joining in the morning brew challenge. The only wrong thing is if you don't join in. So come and join us. There's a fair few people doing it, and I'm seeing some really, really interesting stuff. So anyway, this will also be part of that. So I'm going to carry on. Stop muttering. I'm muttering to you now. I'll stop muttering now. Get this done. Making a patty. And then when it's dry, I'm ready for the next step. I'll bring you along, and we will get this done. I'm probably going to need to mix some more up because I've just run out, and I want this to be a relatively large field. It's going to be scaled, so it'll work for both 28mm and 20mm, because those are the two scales I currently mainly game in. I want this to be a gaming piece. So yeah, I'm probably going to need to do a little bit more, mix up some more. But I'll get that done, and I'll bring you along when I get to the next step.
I've been thinking about the next step on this, and I don't know whether I'm right or not, but this is what I'm going to do. I had two options. One was to start doing the wood bits that are going to go in, so the stakes and the blasted trees, and the other was to go for the texture. And I've decided that I am going to go for the texture next. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come along with my terrain paint, link in the description below to how to make this. It is literally house paint mixed with water and a bunch of PVA, and what I'll do is I'm going to paint that all over quite thick, because Luke's modelling compound really is thirsty for moisture, so it dries fast, and then every now and then I'll stop and scatter sand like that, and I'm going to cover the whole
piece in that, which is going to give me a base colour and a base texture, and then after I've finished doing this and when it's dried, then I'll be able to come along and add in some of the details. And this is as I say, I was thinking about doing it the other way around. Now, the reason I've decided to do it this way around is I don't want to have this texture on those wooden details that I'm going to add in, the splintered trees and what have you, which is going to be in here. And it's very, very hard, as you can see, because of how thick I put this on, to avoid getting the paint onto that and then avoid sticking sand to somewhere where you don't want it to be. So anyway, that's my thinking. I'll get this done, doesn't take very long, and when it's ready for the next step, you can be sure that I will bring you along.
So yeah, so what I'm going to do is, this is the eye that I've printed out, and what I'm going to do, I attempted to put some drain holes in, and it didn't work as well as I wanted it to. You can see that a couple of them I've actually opened them up twice now and they've sealed over again. I've almost certainly got some resin inside here, and I've almost certainly got some uncured resin in there as well, which is not really what you want. And I'm going to need to deal with that and sort that out. This came as a model, completely solid, and I hollowed it out and cut it and what have you, because obviously all I need for this is Smaug's eye. So yeah, which I believe is going to be that way round. I might be getting confused. That way round, not sure. So I need to hollow it out basically to get to the resin inside and cure it. Now you can see I've got my mask and I've got my glasses and I've got my little Tack Life rotary power tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make use of one of these little sanding, drilling type things to widen that hole and basically clear out all the back of this. And that will mean that I can then put it in my curing device and cure the back of it, and hopefully it'll be alright. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm not sure how much of this I'll leave on camera because it's not going to be a very nice sound, and I'm not going to be able to talk because obviously I'm going to have my mask on. So yeah, let's see how well this works. Mask is very, very important when you're dealing with resin dust, as is glasses, because you don't know when something's going to fly up. So let's get this done. I think I'm actually going to do this with the proper full-sized rotary tool. So yeah, I'll stop filming as well now because there's no point in seeing the same thing over and over again. You can see this is not going to be the easiest thing in the world, yeah, I just need to get that cleared up. So I think this is the way around it's going to be. By the way, that's the bottom and that's the top. Pretty sure that that's how it is, but I am a little worried that it's actually that way around, and I've actually got the wrong side printed out and I should have inverted it. So I might actually stop while I'm doing this and maybe print another one with it inverted and just make sure that I've got the correct side, the eye for the correct side. But at least I know that this works, and I have this already done, so I just need to like flip it and then it would be okay. So yes, I'll have a look at that. But that's going to work, I think, and I will bring you along when I get to the next step, which is going to be a little bit longer than I expected because that's really, really difficult. Well, that made a mess, and I'm still inside my mask because you can see there's all sorts of dust. However, two things. One, I have worked out this is the correct eye, and two, I have managed to take out what I wanted to in the back so that I can make sure that that is all cured, and it looks like it's going to be okay. So what I'm going to do now is hoover this up, wash myself off, clean all of the tools, and I'll bring you back. I'll go and prime this as well now, wash and prime this now, and I'll bring you back when I come to the next step. What we need to do now is finish off this horizon here, and I'm going to do that with some of the blue paint, which I'm also going to put over the water a little bit more where I've missed it.
And just going up the horizon slightly and not worrying too much about being neat on this. Just to give the impression that maybe the water continues up there. And then what I've got is I've got some white, which I need to wet my brush. That's better. Totally dry brush, not what you want. And then I'm just going to come in with some wisps of cloud, because what you'll notice is that generally there are wispier clouds and what like this lower down on the horizon. Now I'm no artist, as you can probably tell, so all I'm trying to do here is give the impression, and it will be good enough. And then what we can do is I'm going to come along and put the white on the waves as well, so I may as well while I'm here, because the next thing that's going to be done is going to be doing the beach stuff. So I'll keep working on those waves. I've got a little bit too much wet blue paint at the back to really do it properly there, but we can put some waves coming in like that. There we are, that's looking quite nice. What I'm going to do now, next up, is going to be work on the beach towels and the beach umbrellas. Now I was going to use pins, which I might still use. I'm going to have a play around and I'll put a couple of towels down. And downstairs even, right now at my painting desk, I've primed the missals and I'm going to go and finish painting them, and I'll show you what I've done when I've done that. So I'm going to do that now, straight after filming this. It's now Wednesday, I wonder if they're finished in the next day or so, so I better crack on, hadn't I? So this, well, it dries pretty much immediately as you saw, but I've left it overnight anyway just to completely set and go off. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come along with the same brown and paint that over the top to seal it. And then what I'll be able to do is take this up and down using dry brushing and other techniques to get different tones of brown in as I want to for this diorama. This playable diorama, I don't think I've done a playable diorama before. So yeah, so I'll just get this sealed, leave this to dry again for the day. It's going well, I'm happy with how it's looking, and very excited for the next step, which is going to be detailing, and it's nearly finished actually. It's got most of the effort for this is going to be in the detailing. So anyway, yeah, paint this over and leave it to dry, and I'll bring you back when I come to the next step.
As I work towards getting this ready for flocking, there's a couple of things I'm going to do now this evening. First of all, I've got some of this white grout mix. It's white grout mixed with the dirt outside, and I've had some left over from another project I'm working on, and I realised it's actually going to be the perfect colour for the road, which is a chalky white colour. It's not perfect white, it's a slightly off white, but it'll be perfect for this. So I'm just going to make use of what I've got left over, not worry about mixing any more up, because I've been thinking about this. This build is going to go in patches, so I'm going to work on this bit here really. Basically not bother going around the corner very much. Having said that, I'm about to paint around there. But yeah, I'm going to work on the actual farmyard and the grounds and the fields of the farm immediately next to the farmyard. And so I don't need to worry about finishing off everything else, because I'm going to do that as I go along, which is a very different way of doing things. Normally you'd finish all of one kind of like technique or one thing before you start the next thing on a build. This is such a much bigger build that I'm doing it in, can do it in stages, and that means we're going to have some joins, which is going to be an interesting challenge to make sure they don't look rubbish. But yeah, life is about learning, isn't it? Doing new things. So there we are, that's all of that used up, and as it happens I had just enough to get all of the road done. So that'll be perfect. So that's one thing I need to do this evening. The second thing I need to do is get that duck pond in place. So I will go and wash this up, change the camera, and bring you back and show you how I'm going to do the duck pond. There we are, perfect quantity. Wasn't that lucky? So the pond, as you can see, it is quite high above at the front, and while it's okay at the back, it's not really the point. It needs to be a bit more flush. So what I need to do basically is come along with a knife and carve some more of this out, which is a bit of a pain because it's the bobbly stuff, but it is what it is. I made the mistake, I've got to clear it up. So ideally what I should have done was put this in place before I did any of the sculpting, and then I could have made sure, and I would have known to have carved this out before I did all the work I've done. This is now going to be a real pain in the backside. So I'll pop some music on and you can watch as I struggle. Well, there we are, that's done. It wasn't so bad, but I'm glad that I've got that little mini hoover to keep it a little tidier. So I've got my gator glue, so what I'm going to do now is glue that in place, and then in about half an hour or so I'll come back and I'll fill in the gaps with some more Luke's compound so that I can dry off, and then I'll need to put some more of the grout over the top just to smooth it in, and I'll put that actually onto the banks as well. So yeah, I'll get that done, and yeah, then bring you back for the next step, whatever that is, which probably won't be the doing the Luke's compound, because hey, you've seen that a few times now, so you know what's happening there. So I'll just glue this in, and then I'll bring you back for the next step when I get to it. This is dried now, so it's time for my dry brushing to happen. And what I've got is I've got a bunch of different browns. I've got this dusty kind of grey brown. I have my ready brown here, which is just called brown gouache. I have this, which might be a bit red, I may not use it, but it is still a brown. And I have my raw umber. And those are all the browns I've got, other than the brown which is actually on the base coat, so I can't really use that. And what I'm going to do basically is come along with various of these paints, and I'm going to dry brush them on over the top of this build. So, like this. And the idea will be to basically bring out some of the different textures. Bit of blue foam there. And just make it a little bit more, not just one colour brown. So I'll get that done. I'll probably leave the camera rolling while I'm doing this. And when this is done, then it'll be time for me to put the thing that I'm really excited about, which is the rest of the actual elements on. So the fences and broken trees and what have you. So there we are. I'm pretty happy with that for the first attempt. What I'll do is I'll let that dry, because often dry brushing really doesn't come out until it's dry. So I'll let that go off, and I'll look at that again in the morning and see whether I need to put any more. I might need to put some more of the lighter stuff on just to bring some of the texture out, but I'm actually quite happy with just how blasted that looks at the moment, and I think when I add the other elements, I think it'd be really, really cool. As I kind of expected, this does need more of a dry brush. I've left that overnight. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come along with the two lighter colours that I've been using, and they're going to be quite heavy, and I'm just going to come along, as you can see, what I can do is I can bring these in, and maybe I will have to do a dry brush over with a darker colour again, but I can start to bring out a little bit more variation with a heavier dry brush than what I did, because I don't want it just to be dirty poo brown. Really, I wanted to have some variation. Quite happy with that bit there now. There we are. So I might not even need the lighter colour. Let's bring that right down. There we are. That adds a nice little bit of variety to it. And I'm going to be very, very close to adding the details. Brown flock, tea leaves, bits of wood, and right here we will have one single red poppy. And so we come to the missiles. So I printed a couple of missiles. I will link to the
thingy, or the My Mini Factory, or whatever it is, the file in the description below, are really, really cool. They printed out really well. I've actually lost one. I printed 4, but this was the one that I was almost kind of going to use. As you can see, I've painted it silver with a red tip. And what I have in this little pot here is a transfer, which I'm going to put on. I'm not going to film it because it's going to be fiddly, but it is basically a radioactive sign. Now, it's massively oversized, but this is kind of a bit of a comedy kind of thing. It's not trying to be totally to scale. So I'm going to get that put on. I'm going to use Micro Set and Micro Sol to make sure that the transfer sticks correctly. I highly recommend that if you ever do any transfers. Makes it a lot easier. But it's just steeping in some warm water at the moment, just so that it separates from the backing. And when that's done, I will then look at attaching it, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that when I get to it, which will be very soon, because the transfers do set quite quickly. So yeah, I'm going to get on with that, and I'm just thinking about how I'm going to work out the population of the beach. A couple of brollies and some towels. I think that'll do it, and then this project will be done. Very pleased. The missile has its little kind of like warning thing on it, as you can see. So I'll let that dry and then get that attached. So I've just muttered and grumbled to myself and decided that I'm going to go with my initial plan. My initial plan was to use drawing pins, lightly pressed in, not very far, as umbrellas on the beach. And my initial plan was to just do that. And I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to press these umbrellas in, and I think they're going to look perfect for what I need to do. There we are. And what I'll do is I will think about my surfer dude as well, because I would like to get the surfer dude in. I think that would add a lot of character to this and add that little bit of personality, but I'm not totally sure how I'm going to manage it. So I'll have a think about it, and if I can get the surfer dude, then I will, but if not, then there we are. We have some kind of like beach umbrellas, some umbrellas and parasols over where people can sunbathe, and a nice seaside view. Doesn't that look peaceful enough? Doesn't it just? Lovely. Now for a very exciting moment. As you can see, I have my static grass applicator, and I have stacks of static grass over there. That is, static grass summer and spring, 2mm static grass from Luke's APS. I've got a brush, and I've got 2 packs, one very nearly dead and one new of the fast tack glue from War World Scenics. So what I'm going to do now, I'll leave the camera running, put some music on, and I'm going to put down some static grass. So I'm going to go along the front, and I'm going to go along around. I'm not going to go in front of the building because I've realised I actually need to put the driveway in here, so I need to come back in with some of this, but I'll do that afterwards. That's fine. So I'm probably just going to go along the front and then start towards the back and work towards the actual farmyard. So I'll try to make sure that I'm in shot, and I hope that you enjoy this segment. I'm very, very excited to be pushing on so fast with this now. It's really good to set yourself concrete targets, isn't it? You actually get things done. So enjoy. Time for a very satisfied shaky cam. That was a lot of fun, and I've only ever really
static grassed small areas before, and I can tell you what, it's a lot easier when you're doing a large area like that. And I'm very pleased. I used a mix of the spring and summer to put them same in the hopper, and it's come out with that lovely little like varied look. So what I'm going to do now is I've got my Black & Decker kind of like handy vac thing, and I'm going to hoover up the spare, and that will then go into a vat to be used at some other time, and I'll bring it back when that's been hoovered, and then I'll let that all dry, and then we'll come back for the next step. But yeah, what a great thing. One thing I did wrong was try and do it in small steps. You should just whack your glue down. It doesn't dry that quickly. Whack your glue down, and then you don't have the problem like I had on the edges where I was trying to apply more glue and I was actually flattening out by accident some previously applied static grass. But anyway, doesn't that look great? I've run out of time, which is why I've not done the front, and I haven't done this bit because I still need to do the drive, which is going to come up here. So yeah, I'll do those maybe later on today, maybe tomorrow. But yeah, brilliant. We have some static grass on the model railway. There I've hoovered that, which means that the pond is no longer covered in grass. And what I'll do now is I'll let that dry, and I'll come back to that when I've got more time, and I'll do the bit in front of the lane, and I will also, I might right now actually put the colour, this just up to where and in front of the house, there's going to be a gate here and a little parking area here, so I'm just going to do that in the same colour. And then I can come in and finish off, do all the rest of the grass. The house is going to sit in very, very nicely. And just today, I ordered finally the right size windows and what have you for it, so that will be able to be put in place when they arrive, which won't be very soon, but it will be able to be put in place. You can see that I am going to need to do some more trimming in the same way as I did for the pond. I'm going to need to trim a little bit so that this sits in nicely. And then when I glue it in place, I will then need to build back up. So I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. It's going to be a bit of a challenge, but this is such an improvement. I'm very, very happy with how it's looking, and hopefully Rosie is going to love it as well. Getting close to the end on this. I've got some more printing that I'm going to get done this evening, which if it comes out will mean that I will have a surfer. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to glue the actual nuts of it, the key of the build, the thing that's driving it all, which is this little nuclear bomb. And my idea is what I'm going to do is I was thinking about having it like coming out of the back at quite a sharp angle. But what I think I'm actually going to do is glue it in like that. So I'm going to do this off camera because it's going to be a bit fiddly. I'm going to make use of initially Luke's OPS's fast dry basing glue, which is like quite a good grip to it, and then I'll probably put some PVA on around it as well once that's dried. So I'll lie the whole kit down and stick it on while it's lying down and let it dry. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'll bring you back when I've got it glued in place so you can see what it looks like. So I'm just going to get that done now. Well, there we are, that's in now. So that's down, a bit of an odd angle to film from. So I'll let that too go off. It will take a little while. It doesn't dry very fast, the basing glue, though it does say fast drying. I've never found it to dry very fast, but it does tack up nice and quick, which means that's not going to fall over, hopefully. So I will bring you back for the next step when I get to it, whatever that will be. Don't know, might be putting a surfer on, might be sorting out some beach towels, might be changing these pins out because I really don't like what they look like, but we shall see. Onwards. What I have here are some baby wipes, and Sigurd, who I did the fantastically fun challenge with where I made the beachfront fortification for Blood and Plunder, top lad, Welton Bar Club. Go check him out on Instagram. He is a star and a superb modeller, and he has actually begun his own channel, which is well worth watching. His videos are crazy and awesome and amazing, so go check him out. Anyway, I was wondering how I was going to do beach towels, and he suggested making use of these, so I'm going to. So I have a couple here, and I'm going to dry them out, paint them, and see whether they're going to work. So let's see. Thanks so much for the suggestion, Sigurd. Hugely appreciated, and hopefully I'm thanking you for the success as well. But let's see. So there you are, not quite as long a video as I was expecting, but quite a lot of speeded up bits, and I did get a lot done. I also spent quite a lot of time on the software, which I've been writing for the last few weeks. I made some massive progress this week. It was really good fun working with Ryan and getting this character builder working. I'm really hopeful that this coming week I can nail that and get that shipped, and then get a bit more time in the hobby, because it does take up my evenings. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate if you've got this far. Drop a comment below. I love to hear from you. I do reply to them. I just love hearing from you, so yeah, don't be shy, say hello if you want to. And yeah, I will wrap up by saying, as I always do, please stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well.